we thank you for the many blessings that you have given us. Thank you for bestowing so much on us as Americans. We do pray for those that are less fortunate than we. We do pray that in our deliberations today, you will bless them and they will be pleasing to you. In thy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Please vote. Roll call, please vote. Show the vote. Thank you. Have a motion for approval of the minutes. Second. Please vote. Please vote. Thank you. Okay, we have presentations. Dr. Robinson.
We have President Ramsey, members of the board, members of the audience. We have one presentation this afternoon. Dr. Lockett, Director of Special Education. Dr. Lockett.
Good afternoon. President Ramsey, Dr. Mary Nash Robinson, and to the board. During the 2007-2008 school year, the Louisiana Department of Education entered into a negotiated settlement agreement with 10 petitioners in settlement of a special education due process hearing. Requests concerning the Cattle Parish school system. As a result of this agreement, the department issued a corrective action plan, a CAP, for the school district addressing several issues and areas of noncompliance that had been identified during a monitoring visit by the department. Cattle Parish school systems, full compliance with the terms of the corrective action plan necessitates the withdrawal of the plan, or we are out officially of CAP. It is indeed a pleasure to let you know that, led by our superintendent, Dr. Gerald Dawkins, Dr. Mary Nash Robinson, our chief of staff, Mr. Reggie Abrams, our school board attorney, myself, Ms. Pamela Morgan, supervisor of compliance, Ms. Regina Washington, supervisor of pupil appraisal, Dr. Mark and his great team, and the State Department, and Tom and Air with the State Attorney's Office to issue and say that we are completely out of CAP. We have worked hard, our principals have worked hard, our teachers have worked hard, and we will continue to do great things that we do. However, small challenges await for about 11 schools. We will meet those challenges with the demands that we had set forth for the CAP. Exiting CAP means no more financial burdens, but moving to a state maintenance of effort action plan where our schools will be mandated to keep the same percentage rate for OSS out of school suspension. We will work very closely with these 11 schools and to ensure that we are complying with all state and federal regulations as we proceed to enter the 2013-2014 school year. Thank you for all that you have done to support the Special Education Department and Cattle Parish schools.
Thank you, Dr. Lockett.
News media on this one.
Okay, that brings us to the visitor section of the Cattle Parish School Board meeting. Before we get started, if everyone would join me in silencing your electronic devices, we'd appreciate it very much. Cattle Parish School Board welcomes your input and comments during the visitor section. When your name is called, step to the microphone and make your remarks for the entire board. Please limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. If several visitors are registered to speak, 5 minutes. If several visitors are registered to speak on the same issue, the board requests that the groups or individuals consolidate their comments and/or limit individual comments to 3 minutes. The time clock on the monitoring screen will help you be aware of your time. When the time runs out, your time is up. It is the board's policy not to respond individually to members of the audience. When appropriate, the board may refer concerns to the staff to be addressed. As this is a public meeting, we ask you to refrain from referring to personnel by name or incident. Thank you. Bonita Banderas, please step to the mic, state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Bonita Banderas, 1641 Rock Springs Boulevard, Shreveport, 71119. In lieu of time, I'm going to read my comments, so I won't be just off track. Mr. Ramsey and board members, the decision to hire a firm to secure candidates for superintendent position met with opposition from representatives of Caddo PTA, the business community, some board members, and other citizens. The results of background checks of the firm McPherson and Jacobson are less than desirable. When a board member is quoted in the media saying they're pleased with the mix of candidates, and 2 of those were actually stated as fired from their districts, it sheds light on the rest of those finalists who were listed. It cast a bad light for them to be included in that same mix. I think perhaps the 2 candidates from our area might be offended to be included with that mix. I, as a former educator in Caddo, I'm offended, and as a taxpayer, I'm offended that this board would accept such recommendations from this firm. I hope you haven't paid them yet. In order to strengthen the interview process and restore some credibility for board decisions, I suggest that the board advertise again in the Arklatex area. Select at least 2 other qualified candidates, creating diversity, to interview with Dr. Robinson and Mr. Dilworth. Selecting a 3rd person from that same group that already was tarnished does not meet with having diversity or credibility. Please reconsider your earlier decision on that. I also suggest to you that posting items online is not for everyone. Many families still don't use the computer, and neither does the circulation of the newspaper reach everyone anymore. Parents who need to give more input are busy trying to make a living and support their children and their families, and they're trusting this board. And I think that this board has violated that trust again. Listening today to this firm's spokesperson trying to make us believe that one of those finalists who has had long articles and references from several other districts about theft and things of that nature, you know, that reminds me, I was an elementary teacher too, it reminds me of that story, The Emperor's New Clothes, where he had no clothes on walking down the streets, but he had made the people believe that he had on clothes. Well, that's kind of like what was happening today. You know, I was just ashamed of all of us to think that we could sit here and just smile and nod as if it was okay. That really is not okay for us to accept things and spend money for things that is just not honorable. And it hurts me. I mean, it truly hurts me, and I can tell you from my associations with my community, with my church, with the groups, my neighborhood, people don't like this. And the general consensus now is that trying to talk with the board is just like trying to talk to Congress. So listening today to that, in respect for Dr. Robinson and Mr. Dilworth, and I do respect them as good candidates, I do think that the selection should be rethought to include some others from our locals, so that would certainly restore integrity to the selection process. And if we advertise locally, to say that first committee search was really tainted when you looked at the qualifications of their background searches. Thank you.
Ms. John Glover. Ms. Glover, please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Good evening, John Glover, 8100 Pines Road, apartment 3H, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71129. Can one person convict the hearts and minds of others to bring about a significant change on any given subject? Sure they can. Too many times we have seen such methods accomplished. Approaching any given subject can bring much opposition, but it does not dictate our path. In some cases it has, and in other cases it has not. Imagine the separatism that existed not so long ago in an effort to promote superiority, inferiority of persons, and yet there was one joined by many, which determined that this was wrong and thus forged ahead to make a change would happen to be a most significant change: equality. It was that change that has given those who mirror me the right to address this board about our school system's present status. Have we lost our zeal to ensure that every child in Caddo Parish receives a level of education that promotes good, sound citizenry? When objectives are set, there are goals to be accomplished. What is the objective of this Caddo Parish School Board? Do we choose what students will be successful, or offer excuses for those who are not? Or do we know that we are given the task of educating every child equally via resources? We should never become so comfortable with ourselves that we do not have concern for others. With this said, please allow me to introduce a suggestion that should be given much attention in spite of opposition, as its primary goal is to ensure that every child has access to resources that promote equal education, which is to shake up our administrators, educators, and any staff that is entrusted to educate our children. What does this mean? I am truly elated that you asked this question. We will move our administrators, educators, and the other staff to areas that are not popular in an effort to pinpoint what our true problem is in Caddo Parish with regards to educating children who attend our schools labeled academically unacceptable. Our system has been eroded little by little under the guise that our system is too large to accomplish academic success for all students affiliated with the Caddo Parish school system, instituting charter schools and offering vouchers in a perceived attempt to offer mechanisms to receive a good, sound education is deplorable. This is the system that educated so many of us, and yet it has been determined by agendas that those same methods are no longer acceptable or needed. Let your conscience be your guide is a statement one often used when seeking a solution to a dilemma. But I propose that you do not let your conscience be your guide. Instead, do the right thing to correct the educating process of every child in Caddo Parish schools, even if doing right is not readily acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. This next card, I have two names on here, Linda Bloomer / Deborah Smith. And please state your names and address for the record.
Good afternoon. The board has already been addressed. My name is Linda Bloomer, and I reside at 3051 MLK Drive, Shreveport, Louisiana.
And I'm Deborah Smith, and my address is 6948 Appleton Oaks, Keyfield, Louisiana.
I'm here to let you know that good things are happening at the area where I am employed too. There has been a lot of negative communication going out about this place, but I want you to know that I've been in the teaching profession in the MLK Drive for 30 plus years. I'm a resident in the area. I went from elementary school through college in this same community. My children, my brothers, my sisters, nephews, all went in this community. And I've worked under 6 principals who saw the needs of the community and tried to meet the needs. A lot of children living in this community are living in an environment that does not necessarily nurture their educational needs. School is getting ready to start in a few weeks. It is my prayer that our school year is great and free from all of the negative communication that is being planted in the minds of others. I met my principal about 3 years ago. She was only there 1 year until our school was made into a 6th grade center and our teachers were scattered to other schools. During that year, I observed her as being the type of person the MLK community needs. She is truly a person who sees the need and tries to meet the needs of the boys and girls in this community. I wasn't able to follow her to her new location, and I worked at another school for 1 year. However, I knew that I wanted to work under an administrator who wanted as much for other people's children as she wanted for her own child. If you never grew up around our boys and girls, you don't know the struggle most of these children have to go through when they leave our environment. She asked that the children be treated with respect, dignity, and a caring attitude. This task is difficult for some teachers, but over the years I've learned if you want respect, dignity, and a caring attitude from others, then you're going to have to display the qualities you want to receive. Yes, our workload is heavy, but what people fail to realize is that any job requires you to work. Teaching requires more work than others. And if you're going to be successful as a teacher, you're going to have to plan adequately, be creative, think outside the box, and work untiringly to meet the needs of the children you teach. She asks no less than she is willing to give. She's often the first one on campus and the last one to leave. Some think she's too demanding. However, they fail to realize that she has high expectations for her faculty as well as the students under her supervision. I've learned that if you expect little, you get small results. If you expect more, you get good results. This is a good school, and our leader is a good principal. Everything in the MLK area is not bad. Parents send their children to school to be educated, and children come in anticipation of receiving skills they can use on the wheel of progress. Where a person lives should not affect his outcome in life. I'm grateful that people were in place who could encourage, guide, and expect the best from me. When I went to college, I didn't even know we were poor until I was told I would need financial aid to go to school. I thought because my mom had a job, we had a house, and we had clothes, we were doing okay. Little did I know we were living below the poverty level. But I had a dream to go to college. It was God providing positive people in my life who helped to mold me into the person I am today. And that's the kind of principle we're working under. Our test scores are coming up. The morale of the students is increasing. Tutorial programs are being offered to increase academic growth. And even though various programs are being put into place, it's difficult to find teachers who are willing to stay that extra couple of hours to tutor the boys and girls. She is in the process of shaping, molding, and making the next generation of leaders. When I grew up in this area, there were many people just like her. The only difference is they had a different last name, who helped to put in place the wheels of progress. As the wheels turn around from generation to generation, I saw doctors and lawyers, teachers and principals, ministers and cafeteria workers, policemen and firemen, janitors, secretaries, politicians, even the mayor of Shreveport involved from the turning wheel. I too am a product of that turning wheel. If no one stands for right when it comes to the education of our boys and girls, what will the outcome be of that turning wheel? I encourage you to keep encouraging my principal. Keep telling her to trust in her dreams and her vision, and help encourage her to keep on educating the boys and the girls in the MLK community.
And I'm not going to be very long, but I do want to say The leader that I do work under, I love her and I respect her to the highest. One thing that I love about her is that the fact if we're having problems, her door is always open. She's one of those principals who would go out of her way. If you go to her and if you let her know that you need something, she's going to do all she can to help you out. Because like my coworker said, her main focus are the kids in the area. And it just hurts me badly to know that there are people who work there that are negative about everything there. There are good things going on at that school and in that community. And we came to let you all know that there are good things going on at our school. And I feel that my principal is an excellent, hardworking lady. Thank you.
Let's go.
Okay, thank you.
Let's go.
Jackie Lansdale, please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Jackie Lansdale, president of Red River United, 1726 Line Avenue, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71101. President Ramsey, members of the board, Dr. Robinson. There are several items that it is my obligation to bring to you today. First, the value added. The BAM scores have now been released. And we knew there were going to be problems and felt that an extra year was needed before it was implemented, but you know, that did not happen. And of course now, we're dealing with all the fallout. There's not been one day since the release that we have not met with at least one teacher and filed the appropriate due process paperwork with the superintendent's designee, as prescribed in Bulletin 130. We believe that you as a board, that it's time now that you weigh in and you use your authority on the lack of integrity in the BAM measurement. Where you see, if some scores can be invalidated, as has been indicated by the Department of Education, then all teachers who have been harmed in Caddo should have equal protection under the law. We encourage this board to instruct the superintendent's designee, until we have a superintendent, to request from the DOE that these scores be invalidated. We further request that this board use your affiliation with the Louisiana School Board Association to formalize your displeasure with the instability of the value-added model and the harm it brings to public education here in Caddo Parish. Another area we bring to you is the supply money. We communicated with our membership that this board's assurance that the SEED committee would meet and that you would allocate funds to the classroom. We formally requested the board indicate the findings of the committee and when and how we can anticipate the allocation of the supply monies before school. As you know, teachers habitually pay for a good many of their students' resources out of their own pockets. For example, think of yourself like this. How many of you have to submit a code into a copy machine in order to make copies for your students and are assessed a personal fee for each month based on the number of copies that you made for your students? Essentially, paying to work. That's what teachers do. Please make this a priority that this committee meets if it hasn't already done so. And then there's an area that gives me a lot of pause to broach. We constantly hear in the news that the military has a huge issue with sexual harassment. It's considered out of control and epidemic. Well, unfortunately, it appears that this disease has spread to Caddo Parish. And contrary to what you might think, the cure is not to look the other way or to consider it a dirty little joke. I told you I hated to broach the subject, but you see my failure to bring this to you in this open forum makes me complicit in looking the other way, and I simply cannot abide that. I encourage you as a board to see this for what it is and the harmful implications, and to have the courage to do the right thing, even when it's uncomfortable to you. Finally, thank you for the opportunity to sit on the Superintendent Search Committee. It's always interesting to see the district through the eyes of the community. Of course, as a professional organization, while we share many of those views, There are many areas that are quite unique to us. It is in that light that we, in conjunction with other professional organizations, have decided that we will bring this board a minority report specific to those we represent. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this afternoon in behalf of the members of the Red River United.
Randy Johnson. Please state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Randy Johnson. My address is 409 Brookbriar Drive, Shreveport, Louisiana. I'm a parent. I have compliments and complaints. First of all, I'd like to compliment our principals, two in particular. Mr. Alexander at Green Oaks, he's a real good.
No names,
Oh,
please.
I'm sorry about that. But anyway, we have good principals in our school system. We have these same principals with their hands tied behind their backs with all kind of rules and regulations. We need to take a closer look at these rules and regulations. We need to define things a little closer. In particular, like for instance, protecting our kids. We came up with an idea. I say we because we all vote on these things, and we vote for you all to represent us, and we trust that you all are going to do that. But we do, as parents, and we see certain things. It's like, for instance, at certain schools, you have the schools are separating the kids by grades and not by age. Whereas you would have, what I mean is you have 13-year-old, 12, 13-year-old on one level where they're supposed to be separated from all the 10th, 11th, you know. But you have these kids flunking 3 times back to back. And in particular with my kid, I'm gonna say this, with my kid was knocked out doing a horse play. They called me to the school and said, well, your kid has been knocked out. The paramedics are with him. And, you know, and this kid that knocked him out playing with him, 17 years old, my kid is 13. They're in the same classroom, same grade, but, you know, when I was 17, you know, Carl, when I was 17, you know how we thought. You know, we all felt like we were grown. We were big kids. Marvin Cray just talked, you know, what I'm saying is you need to try to think about separating these kids. Get these kids. I know you want to get the special needs kids and put them and mix them with the other ones and say, well, association brings on assimilation. But we got to rethink this thing because, see, we got a lot of kids coming from homes that don't teach these morals. You see, just like the kid knocked my kid out. They were horse playing, but this kid is bigger than me. My kid is this tall, 13. Now, these big kids, you know, on the same floor. Just I'm gonna leave y'all with this. I'm just gonna say this. I'm gonna leave you with this. What if one of y'all's little girl, 13 years old, on this middle floor at Green Oaks? What if you all, kid, your little girl, go in the bathroom and somebody tall as me, sick in the head, because they grown some of them, sick, they come from all kind of little families. But what if you go in there and mess that little girl up for life, or a little boy? So we need to start thinking about protecting our kids also. You know, we got good principles, but most of the principles, I tell you, from what I've seen, their hands are tied with all kind of red tape and rigmarole and policies that we don't think. Just like I said about policies with separating the kids. You need to try to separate these kids. See, because my kid, you just think about it. Somebody call you and say, hey man, your kid has been knocked out. Paramedics. When I get there, my kid got a big gash in his face. Handsome kid. I don't want to cut all up just because a bigger kid don't know how to play or want to hurt him. You know. But I'm going to leave y'all with that. That's my comments and my complaints. We need to look at that. We need to look at that. I pray that you all will look at that. Now, my kid is going, he's 9th grade now, but he's going on. But this is not just for my kids, for all the kids, everybody. So I appreciate y'all letting me speak, and y'all have a blessed day. I gotta go join my kids right now. Y'all take care.
Thank you. Glenn Davenport. Please state your name and address for the record.
Glenn A. Davenport, 2921 Darlington Line, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71108. Good evening to the board and the audience. Danger, Will Robinson. Danger, danger. That is the warning that was shouted whenever circumstances were noted by the robot in the show Lost in Space to offer protection. Powerful words spoken in an effort to bring about an alert of an intimate danger approaching. Such is my position in my immediate work area. It was because of my present working condition that I sought your help in alleviating the uneasiness and disrespect that permeates my work environment. After addressing this board, I was whisked off by the Chief of Staff and the Director of Classified Personnel to gather information regarding my concern. It was and seems to have been to no avail. I am a man, one who was created by God in His image. I am black. I am a man who works in an environment that has been reminded by the actions of those who exhibit behaviors and attitudes permeate the South. I am worthy of being treated as a man, not of color, but a man. The approach of attitudes and behaviors toward me on a daily basis is based solely on race. My knowledge, skills, and expertise are not worthy of being treated as a man who performs the task that are assigned. Instead, I am handled as one who has an attitude behavior. How about turning the tables, because that is what has happened to me, and I guess I'm tired of it. Is there an indicator that I should quit my job to avoid such behaviors and attitudes? I think not. Should such practices that promote racism be allowed to continue toward me? I say no. See, that is what has prompted me to stand before you again. No one has seemed to have taken a genuine interest in the allegations that I have brought before you again. Instead, every effort has been engaged to malign my character. How shameful. Nothing would ever be addressed and resolution achieved if we stop hiding our heads in the sand. Issues that warrant and can avoid catastrophics should be addressed without bias. Such behaviors have been supported by the administration, both in my immediate work environment and here at Central Office. Collectively, the workplace should be free from any harassment or any search that will prompt me to bring the color of my skin into this equation, but that does not seem to be the case. Any man, regardless of race, creed, or color, should be treated fairly and equal, yet I am not afforded same. No one wants to be informed that racism exists, but we know it does because I made you aware of it. What is your position as representatives of Caddo Parish School Board when it comes to race relations? Do you blame the one who cries out for help, or do you try to arrive at a solution to alleviate any such practices? Heretofore, remember, maligning my character is not the answer. Addressing the concern is. Know this, I will not quit my job. I will not be intimidated. I will not accept being treated unfairly in my work environment. No one should. You are the representatives that have been chosen not only to oversee this system with all that has been presented before you today. Please do so. Even if it is uncomfortable, my very existence as well as others like me depend on you. Where we are silent, we still observe. Where we don't quite appreciate racism nature, of any nature, we do understand that it exists, but does not have to be within the walls of Caddo Parish school system. Recognizing practices and behaviors that support racism is not what we need. Our system is in danger. There is a cry for help to offset the issues of race. Are we willing to address my concern? I know that if you divide the mass of us, those who look like me, then you can conquer the few of us. That is the intent that is being promoted today. Read my lips. It started at the top.
Mr. President, I believe Mr. Rochelle and I asked last meeting when Mr. Davenport spoke to give us a feedback on his situation. I have not received anything. Have you, Mr. Rochelle? Well, I want a feedback on this. I want to know what's going on.
Dr. Robinson, can you take care of that?
Yes, sir, we certainly will. In fact, we have the feedback. I know where it is, so I'll just have to collect it and pass it to you.
Thank you.
Anita Green. Ms. Green, state your name and address, and based on the subject line, I just need to remind you that we can't mention any names or incidents related to this. So, okay, thank you.
Anitra Green, 1852 Christopher Glenn Drive, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71107. And I'm here as a parent of children who attend a school in the MLK area. And I just want to say concerning the principal of that school that she is a caring person. We moved to this neighborhood 3 years ago, and that's when my children started to attend that school. And from that time to this, she has been nothing but supportive. My children have attended the tutoring programs during the school day, during the school week, during the summer. If they were having trouble in a particular class, her door was open to tutor my children personally. She didn't say, well, you'll have to go and pay Sylvan or someone else. She offered her services, and my children excelled. Another thing that I know about this principal is that she knows the names of her students. Even though it's one principal and many students, she knows them by name. She knows the parents. If a parent comes through the pickup line and the vehicle is not familiar, that child does not leave until some verification is brought forward. She hugs the students. I can't count the number of students as they are going to the bus that are hugging her and saying bye and see you tomorrow and I love you, and bringing her little tokens or gifts. I've witnessed this for myself. She seeks to expand the students' horizons. As I said, I live in the MLK area, and we all know what is said about that area. But I wanted to echo on what the employee said, is that good things still come out of the MLK area. And so her goal is to expand the horizons and show them things that they may not see in their neighborhoods, things that they may not see in their homes. She is among the first to arrive and among the last to leave. I know this because I am a member of the PTA, I'm a member of the Parental Involvement Committee, and I've been there with her as among the last to leave, working to come up with ways to get parents to come out to get the information. She brings in people to do presentations on things to help the students. The teachers have to come out, and they come and they present information to the parents that they can use to work with their children at home. Everyone is not a teacher, but everyone can do something. And so she presents various opportunities for the parents, giving them examples of when you go to the grocery store, have your child to pick out the items, or have your child to figure out what the price of the item is. If it's 2 for $5, how much is each item? Practical things like that any parent can do to help their child. She also provides necessary information. If you have a question, if you have a complaint, if you have a concern, her door is open. If she is busy with someone else, then the door will be open soon and she will see you. It's never a time, well, I'm too busy, you'll have to make an appointment with my secretary. It's okay, just a moment, I'm with this person, give me 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever the case may be. So I thank you for this opportunity to speak, and I hope that you will consider the words that I've spoken to you concerning this principal. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I have a couple of board members that have asked for points of personal privilege, and I'll grant those as long as it's not any response to any of the speakers. Ms. Green. Mr. Mail.
Mr. President, sometimes I know it's, make sure it's a question. When we are totally unaware of the issue that's being spoken about, is there some way that we can be in the loop to understand what's going on from their announcements? Is there a way they can give a subject or something so that we would halfway know?
I think you, in situations where it's dealing with staff, I think we'll have to go to the superintendent or superintendent designate or staff to get those questions answered.
Okay, but I guess maybe I would say it another way. There seems to be a problem somewhere, and we're not aware of the problem. Maybe that's the way I should say it. So is there a way that we can sort of be in to know something is evidently happening?
Well, let's talk about that.
All right. All right. Thank you.
But however, I did want to thank the parents and the teachers that came out in support of this principal. And I just want to let them know that I'm behind them 110% and thank them so much for coming out.
You responded.
Oh,
You violated.
I'm sorry. I do apologize.
Just wanted you to know. Okay, we're down to establishing the agenda and the proposed consent agenda. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey. 6.01, personnel recommendations, and we don't have any tonight. 6.02, personnel transactions report. 7.01, purchasing via Mr. Graham. 7.02, construction and capital projects, Mr. White. 8.01, request for vehicle auction, Mr. Graham. It is my understanding that 8.02 will be pulled. Am I correct, sir? 8.03, request to piggyback on Bossier Parish School Board's bid for waste disposal services, Mr. Graham. 8.04, request to assign interest of state agency lease numbers 6055 and 6889 to Jack T. Everett. 8.05, approval of special education interagency agreements contracts, and that's Dr. Lockett. 8.06, Louisiana compliance questionnaire, that's Mr. Lee. 8.07, approval of salary reconfiguration, bookkeeper 1 to a grade 7, and that one is mine. 8.08, approval of proposed revisions to CPSB policies JCDAF, bullying and hazing, and JFCA, student dress codes, Mrs. Moore, the Director of Attendance and Census. We do not have a superintendent's update on target schools tonight, and we have 2 student readmission appeals, both parents concurring with the staff's recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Now, board members, this is a combination work session and general session. So I will go to each item. If there are any questions or concerns, we'll address those, and then we'll go back and set our proposed consent agenda. Item 6.01, nothing's there. 6.02, personnel transactional reports. Are there any questions?
Consent.
Okay, we'll put it on consent. All right, are there any questions about 7.01, purchasing? Consent? Okay. Any questions about 7.02, construction capital projects?
Consent.
Okay. Wait a minute, I hear it mixed. Would we say consent?
Are we going to discuss them as we go?
Yeah, if you have a question, Because, I mean, this is a combination work session and general session, so we'll go ahead and discuss each one as we go. And we're on 7.02, construction capital projects. Do you have a question?
Yeah, are we gonna use the board or we're not gonna?
Well, I better clear the board. Let's try using it. Okay, now, Barry Rochelle.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is for the parking lot, and I'm just going to tell you what concerns me on this is I looked at the student population for the school, and obviously I know that we need to take care of all the buildings that we have. What I have a concern with is the quantity of schools that we have and the ones and continuing to try to keep them open, and where this school fits into the future. I hate to have to bring this up, but you know, just like any doctor, sometimes there's good news delivered by a doctor, sometimes there's so-so news delivered by a doctor, and sometimes there's bad news delivered by the doctor. Well, our district's got bad news as far as the quantity of schools that we have, and we keep spending money all over the place.
Okay, if you'll ask questions, and then we're getting in the.
Okay, well then, what I would like to see is I would like to see this postponed until after we have a superintendent in place, so that they can that they can take a grasp of our capital projects and look at this as a whole and come up with their own plan. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to just see it postponed.
Yeah. Okay, this is the one at North Side, right? That's the one, okay. I don't hear any offers from staff, so we're gonna look. Okay, Ms. Bell is on the board.
Yes.
You have questions, it's not time to,
Okay.
he asked to postpone it.
Yeah, and I ask that we not postpone it, regardless of what people, school, even though you're saying that we're spending money, even though the question that they're spending money on school, we do not know the future of any school in Caddo Parish. Students, parents still have to get children to school and everything.
Okay.
My question is, well, wait, you said.
Let me clarify something. This has already been approved, and this is put up for bid.
When did we
And we're
approve
just,
this? Yeah, we could approve this a while back.
yeah, all of this has been approved, and
I'm sorry then. I'm sorry, but he came, you just want to postpone it. But, no, sir, okay, I'm sorry.
now his question was, can we postpone it? So so let's just, we're doing questions.
Okay, the question is that, make sure I understand. This been approved already.
Mhm.
He just coming forth to try to postpone it, right? Is that what you're trying to bring it back up?
I'm not sure how you can postpone it, but that's the request.
At that time, you told me to ask questions to see what
Okay,
you're trying to do.
yeah.
Mr. Rochelle, can I ask a question, Mr. Rochelle?
You can ask one question.
That one question. I know you always hit the gavel.
This is a work session, so we're
The
going
question is this first to the staff and you. We've already approved this, right? Now, my question to Ms. Rochelle. You're trying to bring it back to postpone it, right, Mr. Rochelle? That's what you're trying to do? That's the question to Ms. Rochelle.
I would just like to postpone it until our new superintendent is in place, but obviously I think that the attorney has, if you'll ask the attorney, I think he can answer your question right now.
Mr.
The problem is that it's been put out for bid, and the bid is, documents have been done. We have people who have also bid on the project, and we have a certain time period in order to respond to that bid. And you either have to accept it, it falls within the budget, or you have to reject it. But this one has fallen within the budget, except, that the board established for them to put it out there. So the only way you're going to do it, I believe, is that you would have to, if you don't do it within this time frame, you won't be able to bring it back for about a year, if I'm not mistaken. It won't be able to come back at all.
That's what I'm sorry, I understand what you're saying. That's what I'm going to dispute, that postpone. Okay.
Thank you.
So we're not going to postpone, I believe, okay.
I'd like to make, can I make a motion to motion?
No, we're still going through the,
Okay, it's on consent.
okay.
All right.
Well, I don't know, Mr. Rochelle may not want it on consent. Is that no consent? Mr. Rochelle, did you say no to consent?
No.
Okay. 8.01, the request for vehicle auction.
Consent.
Okay. 8.02 has been pulled till we get further information. 8.03,
Going back to 8.02, is it postponed or tabled?
well, postponed. There is a bid. We didn't have all the information. So until all of that is gathered, it's pulled that route.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. 8.03, request to piggyback on Bossier Parish School Board bid for waste disposal services. Consent. 8.04,
I got a question on that.
Mr. Hooks has a question.
I don't want to be like some others. Would you explain this to me?
I'll get the attorney to do all the legal stuff.
This is a formality, Mr. Hooks. Basically, I think one of the individuals passed away and they're transferring the interest over to the LLC and they're going to continue operation on the same conditions they already have.
Okay. Thank you. I don't want to vote on anything I don't understand.
I understand.
I won't.
Okay. It's 8.04, consent. Okay. 8.05, approval of special education interagency
Consent.
agreement. Consent.
Yes.
8.06, Louisiana compliance questionnaire.
Consent.
Consent. 8.07, approval of salary reconfiguration, bookkeeper 1. Consent. And 8.08, approval of proposed revisions to policy.
Can he explain that to me?
Mr. Abram.
Bullying policy is a... Yes,
Excuse me. In my reason for asking, when I got home from my trip, I had this in my box where a child had been bullied ever since 2011, and they just did something. Thank you, Dr. Lockett. All thanks goes to you. Helping this parent out. But this parent is not in my district. I think she's in Mr. Riles' district, but she sent me a copy. But look, explain.
Mr. Abram.
About Mr.
The state last year, the legislature passed an act changing the bullying laws in the state of Louisiana and putting in a comprehensive group of reporting requirements and training, different than what Caddo. Caddo has a good policy and had a good policy back in the past because it has been tweaked and it, gave definitions and all that. But as a result of a death that occurred in South Louisiana, believed to be because of bullying, the legislature enacted a statute that was extremely comprehensive. And within that, they passed the statute last year, and they asked for Bessie to come up with rules and guidelines by January of this year. And Bessie came up with rules and guidelines to implement this during the spring. In the meantime, Caddo, we put in the policy, the law as to how it existed as of 2012, because Bessie hadn't put the rules in on how to implement it. But we put it in our blue book last year as the new requirements, and it is very detailed. But during the last session, the legislature came in and made some changes because they found some things that were very difficult to deal with. The first thing was that they would not allow parents, the students to be interviewed until the parents were contacted, and there was a deadline of 10 days to do an investigation, and that presented a problem. So the legislature went in and changed it so that you can now interview a student if you've attempted to contact the parent 3 times within 48 hours. So that's the change, one of the major changes that's in this policy and the legislature put in. The other one is that the statute required that all employees be trained on bullying. And the legislature came back and at 4 hours of training, 4 hours. And the legislature came back and realized that every employee does not have contact with students, so they changed it to be 4 hours for employees that have contact with students. Okay, and if you were trained last year, you only have to have 2 years, so it'll be 2 hours subsequent to your first training. So any new employee that have contact with students will have to have 4 hours of training. Anyone that's been trained before will get a refresher every year for 2 hours. So that's the major changes. Also, there will be there's a requirement that during orientation that the parents and students receive orientation regarding these rules, the reporting mechanisms, and all the rights that the parents have, which will be new for this year. Everyone is going to have to do all of this compliance. And I've created a notice that's not a part of the policy, but there will be a notice that the parents have to sign saying that they have been made aware of the policy and that they know that they have been presented with the rules and that they went through the orientation. So that's another part of the rule. But those are the major changes.
Okay, thank you. You can put that on consent. You got a question? Okay.
Let's see. Ms. Bell, do you have a question on this one?
No. Oh, you didn't raise.
Ms. Green, did you have a question?
No, mine was on his.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Mel, we're,
With the same, with that same number, 8.08, with the part of the dress code. Now, I read over this to make sure I understood. Now, we're taking out, we don't have to worry about purple, green, yellow hair. That's male or female, right?
I don't recall that it's specified.
No, I'm just asking because, you know,
Mr. Abrams,
It's not.
I think she,
That was presented to the committee, and the concern was that we couldn't figure out what was unnatural hair color anymore.
Well, if I
It's
may,
whatever's disruptive.
it could be disruptive, but also we just simply took out from number 2 on our dress code, unnatural hair color, because we specified 2 colors and then said et cetera. The et cetera has been the problem, because now we have a burgundy tone that's caused a lot of problems at some schools. That's correct. But in number 14, principals still have the discretion to decide whether or not it's disruptive to their school. And the other thing discipline review recommended was that on number 2, we had hosiery was required for closed shoes. So we deleted that part of it.
Okay.
And those were the only recommendations for change.
So this is going to be like from school to school?
The principal still has discretion to implement the dress code for that particular school.
Okay, all right.
But this is generic for principals to use unless something specific presents a problem.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
now we can go on consent. Okay. Okay, Mr. Hook.
Ms. Moore,
Yes, sir.
wouldn't that cause a problem if everybody's not consistent?
What we have done, this was somewhat, we have not revised this in a few years. We have had different shades of red hair color, really that's presented the problem that has become acceptable in some areas and non-acceptable. What we got into, Mr. Hook, specifically was we did not want parents to have to take a child to a beauty shop and pay $200 and probably you can't re-dye for a period of time. So we did not want children sitting out of school because of a hair color that the parent approved. We're not talking about blues or yellows. We're really in that red family.
But my concern is that you say you're leaving the discretion up to the principal.
Yes, sir.
My concern is it needs to be, what one school does, the other, all the schools should follow suit.
We've had a difficulty with defining what is an unnatural hair color.
I don't have any problem with the hair color.
That's what this was.
What I have a problem with is consistency throughout the school system. That's my problem.
And we've dealt with it in principals' meetings with the area directors, because the children come with different versions of hairstyles and that type of thing. If they are not in defiance of discipline regulations and it's not causing a problem, we really want them to stay in school. We do not want them to go home because of a hair tint. So that's why discipline review recommended that we take unnatural hair color off, but still number 14 leaves. If you come with 5 colors in your hair and everybody's looking at it not paying attention, then we can deal with it.
Okay, we'll see.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Rochelle.
Thank you, Mr. President. Back to the item number 7.02, we can go ahead and just put that on consent. That will be fine. I'm not against the parking lot. What I was hoping to do was to leave this in the lap of the new superintendent coming in, but we need to proceed, and I'm fine with it being on consent.
Okay. 7.02 is back on consent, and we just added 8.08, the revisions to the policies JCDAL and JFCA. And item 13.01, this is student readmission appeal hearings for RD and NB, and the parents are in agreement with the staff, so I propose that would be consent.
Yes.
Okay, just rehash the items for the proposed consent agenda would be 6.02, 7.01, 7.02, 8.01, 8.03, 8.04, 8.05, 8.06, 8.07, 8.08, and 13.01. That is the proposed consent agenda. We have a
Move to approve the agenda and the proposed consent agenda.
all right. We have a motion to establish the agenda and the proposed consent agenda. Okay, now, please vote, and then I'll explain the next. Thank you. Now we will confirm the consent agenda due to the new Act 416.
Second.
Move to confirm consent agenda. Please vote as presented. Okay, thank you. Now we're to, you don't have an update, any superintendent's report? Okay, Dr. Robbins.
President Ramsey, members of the board, there are a couple of events that we'd like for you to add to your calendars. The retirees reception hosted by the district will be on Wednesday, July 24th at 3:30 p.m. at Southwood High School. And thank you, Mr. Rouse. The refreshments will be provided or prepared by the Culinary Arts program at North Caddo High School via Rosetta Boone, so thank you for that. Parish-wide back-to-school meeting, Keyfield Elementary Middle School, August 6th at 9 o'clock. Parish-wide back-to-school administrators meeting, August 6th, 9 o'clock, Keyfield. And Ms. Armstrong, I guess we're going to your neck of the woods, so please plan to be there. That's 9 o'clock.
Pack lunch.
All right, Oak Park's Parade Day. We go to Miss Priest's area. 10 o'clock a.m. on Saturday, August 10th, when we will walk, I believe, from McDaniel Drive to Henry Street. And let me emphasize, walk. All right, and then the last one, hop on the bus. Hop on the bus, August 12th. That's on the Monday. That's the first day that we open. And we will convene at 7:30 and get ready to ride. Thank you. We're going to Oak Park. We're going to, where else you all, did you say is that? Ridgewood and Southwood. Thank you all.
Okay, do we, board members, have any, I see two folks on the board, unfinished business, new business, announcements and requests. Ms. Green.
Yes, I requested some information about that superintendent's hotline. I don't think I received it. I just want to know is how does it work, and if a caller calls, is it confidential? And also, are we going to keep it going? The second thing is, we just want to congratulate one of the best sororities in the whole wide world for their centennial, which is Delta Sigma Theta. We just turned Washington, D.C. out, so if you see a Delta, make sure you tell her happy birthday. Thank you.
Mr. Ryle.
Thank you, President Ramsey. We have the retirees reception July the 21st, 3:30 to 5:30.
July 24th.
July 24th, I mean? Well, that's going to conflict with our interview of the candidates.
I plan to make comments at the very beginning and be back here by 4:30.
Okay. Okay, I got you.
There's no way that any board member could stay for the whole
okay,
thing.
I got you.
But
There's no way I could reschedule.
that train's been out of the barn for a long time.
Yeah.
3:30 to 5:30. On July 24th. That's retiree celebration and recognition.
10 o'clock. And you can put a car in the parade. If you choose not to.
Mr. Riley, you have any? Mr. Pearson?
Yes, thank you. Have we sold Hendrix?
Yes.
I thought so. I was just wondering if we were paying the light bill, because the light's on the top floor every night.
No, we paid.
But somebody, okay, I'm good. I just didn't remember.
Mr. President, we have somebody that's interested in buying, what's that school out here off of Greenwood Road, that elementary school we closed? Hillsdale. We have someone that interested.
Get from Mr. Graham and give him that information.
Okay.
There's no one else on the board, so
Motion, George.
and please vote. Show the vote.